Yo, we're back, and this week it's for a new promotion. We're going to be doing the Eagles FC 44 full card breakdown, and, I see a lot of people, they're shitting on Khabib, and I kind of, the other week was kind of giving him some flack in terms of some of the matchmaking that he's been doing, but ultimately, I think this is a pretty good event for the first U.S. show, man. They got Chael Sonnen involved, they got a lot of good media personalities involved, they got a good crew for the broadcast, doing the commentary. Probably going to be a pretty good show. I feel like they actually got some decent fighters on there. For a first event in the United States, it really is not bad. So you got to give some credit to Khabib. Good job on him. And we're going to get right into these fights here. This first fight of the night, Shaun taking on Firdavs Khasonov. With Shaun, he's definitely the more well-known commodity. His career never really panned out 100%, but he's a guy that was an amazing amateur wrestler, two-time college All-American. He was a U.S. national and Pan Am American champion, and he was a two-time Olympic alternate. He was one match away from going to the Olympics for freestyle wrestling, and after he fell short of that dream, he came into MMA. And at that time, he was already 29 years old, so he's definitely a little bit older. He got a late start, and he trains at AKA, so he's at a great gym, and he has had success. He's gone 10-5 in his career. He's fought almost all of his fights in Bellator. Well, 10 out of his 15 fights in Bellator. He went 6-4 in 10 Bellator fights, and he was able to face off with guys like Steve Garcia, who's now in the UFC. He fought Darion Caldwell. He fought Joe Warren. He fought Leandro Higo. He fought Keith Lee. But he had two straight losses to Leandro Higo and Keith Lee in 2019 and 2020. Him and Bellator decided to part ways, and he came back. Got a win in Abu Dhabi. He went and signed with UAE Warriors, fought one event for them, got back in the win column, and now he's looking to make it 2 in a row here at Eagles FC. Took a long time off before his return fight at UAE Warriors. He didn't fight for over a year and a half before that fight. But this one's just 4 months later after his last fight, so hopefully he knocks some of that rust off, looks even better. He did win against a credible opponent. His last matchup he fought Ronnie Sadeh, who was a former BAM world champion, who was 12-3, and he was able to get the victory over him. But Shaun, pretty basic style, very fast, explosive. He likes to use his movement, stay in and out. Good straight punches. He uses good shots to set up the takedown, and he does a pretty good job pool countering. He's shorter. He doesn't really have the longest reach for the division either, so he can struggle to get inside sometimes. Sometimes he can lunge in, expose himself, but he's quick, he's hard to catch clean, and he's only been finished by strikes one time, which was all the way back in 2013. And obviously he has an elite wrestling game. He has great level changes. When he can get on the legs, usually you're going to your back, and very explosive, very strong. Good job of following the hips, controlling when he gets on top. He has good ground and pound, pretty good submission threat. Or very little submission threat. I'm sorry, I don't know why I said pretty good. He doesn't really look for submissions, but he's hard to submit. He has good scrambling ability. I've seen some guys take him down and take his back. He did get submitted with the rear naked choke and Darion Caldwell. He also fell asleep and left his head in there against Leandro Higo. Got caught in a guillotine in a fight that he was clearly winning late in the second round. But his opponent here, Firdavs Khasonov, is a short notice opponent. He's coming in on about 10 days notice. And he is on a 3-fight losing streak as well. He lost in 2021 against Nurbek Bulatakov by triangle. Before that, he hadn't fought since 2019. And in 2019, he didn't perform well. He went 0-2. He lost once by knockout, lost once by decision. And previously that Khasonov was 8-0. But a lot of those opponents were low-level opponents. Shaun, in my opinion, would be the best win of his career. The only couple fights I could find online of Khasonov, where one of them was his fight with Rodrigo Pereira at ACA 103, and that was one of his recent fights. I was not really super impressed. He has good movement and seems like a decent striker, but his takedown defense looked bad. Looked like he didn't really know what he was doing off of his back. He got tired quickly. Seems like he likes to fight off the back foot, gives up the center. Coming in on very short notice, I find it hard to believe he's been actively training his wrestling hard enough to go against a guy like Shaun. And he's usually a flyweight as well, so he's bumping up a weight class. I think Bunch is going to win this fight going away. He's a superior grappler. I think he's going to be able to get the takedowns, dominate on top. he has more experience against high-level opponents. And even though he's 38 years old, almost 39, he's getting up there in age, there could be a fight where goes in there and just doesn't show up, doesn't perform, and that could signify, maybe he's a little bit past it age-wise. But currently, he just went in there, got a win 4 months ago, and I think he's clearly better than Firdavs Khasonov, who's coming in here on a 3-fight losing streak. So I do like the side for Shaun here. Continue through this prelim card, we got Miles Hunsinger. He's going to be taking on Demarques Jackson. Miles Hunsinger, he's 7-0. He's coming out of Extreme Couture. He was actually expected to be on the last season of The Ultimate Fighter, but an injury forced him off the show. He decided to sign with Eagle FC now, and hopefully he could work back to UFC level. But Hunsinger so far in his career has fought relatively low-level opponents. He's yet to be in there with the fighters as experienced as Demarques Jackson. He's fought 6-11 Journeyman. He was able to pick up the victory in that fight. His most recent fight was a fight against a 6-4 opponent in 2019. That's another issue with Hunsinger so far in his career. He's not been active enough. Made his pro debut almost 10 years ago at this point, all the way back in 2013. And he's still only fought 7 fights. Since 2015, Hunsinger's only been in there 3 times. And his opponent, Demarques Johnson, I would call him kind of a high-end journeyman. He's been able to pick up some nice upset victories, but also faltered against other fighters. And he has some good wins. He beat Brock Weaver, he beat Bryce Logan, he beat Bobby Lee. But his losses have came against good guys as well. Rosh Monfillo, who just recently won the PFL $1 million tournament. He lost to Bibet Nasarov in Titan FC, who's a 13-2 fighter. He lost to Harvey Park, former LFA champion. He lost to Hugh Pulley, who's a good fighter, who's defeated guys like Jason Witt, Grant Dawson. And then since coming to Bellator, he lost to Grachik Bozinian, who was 10-4. Then he lost to Mark Lemminger as well, an 11-3 fighter. So most of his losses have came against credentialed opponents. He also had a long amateur career going 10-5 in 15 fights there. A lot of experience, fought better fighters, trains at Sanford MMA. So he definitely, in my opinion, just resume-wise, has a better resume, even though he's 11-6 to Hunsinger 7-0. Recently, he is 1-4, so needs to get back on track, get back into the winning ways. But his opponent, Miles Hunsinger, he's an aggressive wrestler. On the feet, he tries to use an elusive style, move around, counter with the jab or the counter two. He's tall, he has good height, good reach. He has a reach advantage in this fight of 2.5 inches. Overall, he's not the best striker. He can put some okay combinations together because fighters do fear the level change, but he can close the gap and get hit with shots coming in. He was dropped in his fight with Andy Negretto. He does have pretty solid wrestling. He mainly likes to hit double legs. On top, he has alright top control. He just likes to sit in half guard, grind out victories. He does have 4 finishes on the ground, but they've came against low-level opponents. 3 rear naked choke victories. And, he is going to want to try to probably get the back of Jackson. Fighters with good jiu-jitsu scrambling ability have been able to work back up to their feet. The last fight of Hunsinger's I was able to watch was from 2017, so could be a different fighter in that span of time. Comes in good shape. He has pretty good cardio. But Daquan Jackson, in my opinion, is the stronger, more explosive athlete. He is a guy that comes out really good early in the fights. He has pretty good striking, technical. He has good power. Does a good job using his striking to set up the takedowns. He's strong, good wrestling, and a lot of experience advantage here. I feel like one thing with Jackson that he struggles with in certain fights is fighters that could submit him. Or not even submit him, really. I mean, he's never been submitted, but just get him to the ground, beat him up with ground and pound, and just get him to where, kind of submission. I'm not saying, it's like they beat him up on the ground so much that they kind of make him quit with the ground and pound, but Jackson, in this fight, though, the guys that have been able to take him down have been pretty good grapplers. They've been pretty credentialed opponents. They fought high level. With Miles Hunsinger, I'm not that impressed with his wrestling. I don't really feel like he's the highest level wrestler, and I feel like his striking is not very good. I think that Demarques Jackson, as the underdog, has some value here, and the public agrees with me, or just bettors agree with me in general, because he's been bet down pretty significantly throughout the week. I'm about to look at his line real quick. I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember, but I know he was originally a plus 375 underdog, huge underdog when he opened. And you look at the line now, they're both minus 115. So a ton of money came pouring in on Demarques Jackson. And I think for good reason. I think Jackson's going to be able to go in there and get the victory. This fight I'm not going to spend a lot of time on. I think it's a pretty self-explanatory fight with Loik Radzhabov taking on Zane. We got Zane, who's a guy that has started to try to improve his striking. He recently just got a really quick knockout victory over Steven Seiler, which is the biggest win of his career. He had, I believe, a couple fights in the bare knuckle seed as well. But with Zane, he's a guy that very wild striker. Seems like he's improved a little bit with this striking, not being as wild, but very wild, very hittable. Kind of just like his striking is dangerous, but not very technical, and I don't think it's going to really threaten a higher level fighter. And Loik Radzhabov, he is exactly that. He's a PFL guy. He's fought for the PFL $1 million tournament championship twice. He came up short both times. Recently, that was his last loss, where he went in there against Rashad for the $1 million. Came up short in a 5-round fight. And the issue with Loik Radzhabov is he has a cardio issue. He's a very explosive guy, decent striking, good wrestling, but he tends to gas himself out. And Zane does have good cardio. He has showed that he's starting to improve his wrestling as well. He got a win in Bellator against Nainoni Dong, where he was able to just grind him out with the wrestling for the whole fight. But you've seen when he takes on higher level wrestlers like Justin Gonzalez, when he took on a couple other opponents, he gets taken down very easily, gets controlled on bottom, and I just see that happening here. I think Loik Radzhabov is going to take him down, control him on top, and really just be able to dominate the fight. I don't know if he's going to be able to get a finish. Zane is pretty hard to take out, but I'm going to go with Radzhabov by decision. And moving along on the card here, we got another recognizable name with Yorgan Castro. He's going to be taking on Shaun Asher. Low-level fight here, man. I mean, Shaun Asher is a vet at this point. He may be at the end of his rope, though. He's 42 years old. His last fight in April was the first fight he had in over a year and a half, and he got knocked out in 55 seconds. Spent the majority of his career at light heavyweight as well, and he's even competed at 185 pounds. Asher, his last loss did come against a massive guy in Steve Mowry, who's very tall, undefeated Bellator heavyweight, and I feel like this is definitely more of a fair matchup. Shaun Asher is a grappler. Back in the day, he definitely was taking the fight game more seriously. He really was a decent fighter. He gave Jordan Johnson a tough fight in RFA 39. He, is mainly a wrestler, but, Asher, he does shoot some bad takedowns at times too. That's what has got him guillotined a couple times. His last fight, he shot a bad takedown, got flattened out, finished with ground and pound. I think he got hurt with the knee as he came in, and he was pretty vulnerable once it went to the ground. And on the feet, I mean, he just essentially bits it in with wild punches to get the takedown. Does seem like he has decent hand speed, and he will put combinations together on people against the cage, which is something that against the Castro could be effective. And his wrestling is alright. He can get guys to the ground, and he has a few submissions under his pocket. But, he's vulnerable to counters. He doesn't come into fights in shape recently. Obviously back in the day, he was in much better shape. Now, in my opinion, he kind of let himself go and is just kind of coming in there for a paycheck. He won't have to deal with the 6'8 giant in this fight, so he probably will put up a better fight. Yorgan Castro, he's a pretty recognizable name, former UFC fighter. He was rushed in the UFC. I mean, he entered at just 5-0. He did do well in his first fight. He knocked out Justin Tafa, but after that, he went in there against Greg Hardy. Carlos Felipe had really boring decisions, and then he got knocked out badly against Jardish Danho, ended his UFC run, and he did bounce back in a main event at CS65. He defeated Daniel Williams via decision. When you watch Yorgan, I mean, one of his main weapons is the leg kicks. I haven't really seen many people throw a lot of leg kicks against Asher, so that's something that maybe could be effective, maybe could get him taken down. You kind of got to see what happens during the fight. But Castro is a smaller heavyweight. He's a good mover, fairly skillful striker when he's fresh. He throws big switch stance hooks. He has pretty good lateral movement. Will try to walk guys into uppercuts, overhands, flying knees. He does have a tendency to stick in the pocket and brawl, and he is fast. Usually he can find the knockout in that kind of scenario against heavyweights, but also has gotten himself in trouble. And he's not a good grappler, man. I mean, I do think he's working to improve it because his last fight he did go for a body lock takedown the first round, put him on his back, but then he was able to explode, get on top, and he was able to mount Daniel Williams and actually took him down throughout the fight. But I think this is a stay away for me. I do think that Castro will get the knockout, but I don't trust him here at chalk at all. Even in his last fight against Daniel Williams, who's a 40-year-old journeyman, Castro really struggled for portions of time on the feet against Williams. He let Williams back him up and bomb on him, control him against the cage. He did show an improvement in his grappling, but I think if he tries to grapple with Asher, I actually think Asher is the superior grappler. I don't know. I do think even though Yorgan is not the greatest cardiovascular guy, he's probably going to be in better shape. Probably be able to last longer than the 42-year-old Asher, who has not shown good cardio at 5 or 6 years. But I don't know. I mean, Asher. He's fought less than a round or less than 1 minute of fight time in a year and a half. Fought less than 2 rounds of total fight time since 2016. So I think Castro's going to go in there and get the first round knockout, but wouldn't parlay it or anything. Total stay away fight for me. And this next fight, this is actually a good matchup here with Dylan Salvador taking on Arman Ospanov. Dylan Salvador is a world-class kickboxer. He's fought a very high level at kickboxing. He has wins over some really good kickboxers. He's a former 2-time world kickboxing champion. He's a Glory kickboxing tournament champion. He decided to leave kickboxing in 2019, started an MMA career at 28 years old. And obviously at that age, he still does have a lot of time to improve, get better. Started his MMA career perfect 5-0 if you include the 2 one-round fights he won as part of the Premier FC 31 Tournament of Champions. But lost his fight after that to Ali Zebian by decision. And it seemed like Salvador wanted to prove that he just wasn't a striker. In his first 3 MMA fights, got 3 submission victories. And he has a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. He's been trained at ATT Team Lima in Atlanta for a while. He's trained under Juan Carnero. They got some really good guys there as well, like Doug Lima, Diego Lima. They got Cody Durden. So they got some good fighters over there. The game plan to beat Dylan Salvador is pretty obvious. Even with his 3 submissions in his first 3 fights in the purple belt in jiu-jitsu, you're going to want to take this guy down. On the feet, he's very dynamic, great speed. He is good on the inside and outside. On the outside, he has excellent distance control. He rips hard leg kicks, nice front kicks, round kicks, body head. Isn't a big combination puncher, but throws really nice straight shots to the body, to the head, good hooks, very fast hands, fast kicks. His defense, his composure is really good. On the inside, he has brutal knees, good elbows. He'll try to close the distance with flying knees. And if he's allowed to strike for 3 rounds, I mean, he's going to take out most fighters in his weight class in MMA. Still not a great wrestler. His takedown defense and knowledge of the ground game is a little better than most kickboxers, but still can be taken down. He did show some decent takedown defense and get-ups against the cage against Kenny Porter. Pretty good sprawl. He will try to circle to the back and get the back and get the rear naked choke. He'll also try to hunt front chokes. He got a nice anaconda choke on Kenny Porter. Salvador sometimes can lose wrestling scrambles that up on bottom, show a little bit of greenness in that area. In his fight with Josh Anderson, who's a 6-1 fighter, he's a solid wrestler. He got taken down, but he showed good ability to get back up to his feet fairly quickly. And off his back, he is effective. He'll look for elbows. He'll try to open up with submissions. Pretty good arm bars, pretty good triangles. In his fight with John Morehouse, Salvador was actually the one that punched his way into a body lock, took the back out the rear naked choke. Unfortunately, I was able to watch all of Salvador's MMA fights except for his loss against Ali Zebian, which was his most recent fight. I have seen Ali Zebian fight, and he's a big explosive overhand to takedown type of fighter, so probably just did wrestle and control Salvador over 3 rounds. Salvador, to me, did show good cardio. He was able to get the submission in the 3rd round against Porter Jr. The loss against Zebian was a split decision, so he had to have some moments in that fight. This is going to be the most experienced fighter he's ever fought, though, with Arman Ospanov. Arman Ospanov, he's going to be looking to make a name for himself in the United States. He had a good career over in Russia, fought in the ACA promotion, had mixed results. He failed in his United States debut. He came over, he had a big opportunity in the PFL against Chris Wade. Chris Wade ended up catching him with the high kick, finished him in the 2nd round by knockout. And that was the 2nd knockout in 3 fights for Ospanov, 2nd knockout loss. So his chin is a little bit questionable in my opinion. And he usually is a killer-be-killed fighter. He has 10 of his 11 wins inside the distance. He's been finishing 3 of his 4 losses. and he's only 1-1 in decisions. And he's a striker, good movement. He likes to use louder movement, fake faith, and walk fighters into big shots, counter crosses, good kicks. He has good body kicks, good head kicks, good spins. Good job constantly moving, not giving fighters an easy target to hit or take down. He does give up the center. He likes to fight off the back foot. Doesn't really like to wrestle. If I was Salvador, I would look to try to not grapple or get the takedown offensively. Sometimes he does have a tendency to want to get into the clinch. Ospanov has proven good anti-grappling, and that'll give Ospanov the chance to deny the takedown and get on top. In his fight with Chris Wade, he did a good job denying the takedown to getting on top in the first round. On paper, though, this is going to be a kickboxing match. It should be a good stylistic matchup for Salvador. Ospanov does have a huge experience advantage when it comes to MMA, though, and he's no slouch in the striking department. Recently, his chin has not held up as much as usual, but he has the skills, he has the experience to make this an interesting fight. I do think it's kind of... I don't know if I would bet on a guy like Salvador, though, because he's just so young in his MMA career. I do think this is probably going to be a kickboxing match. Ospanov tends to slow down a bit. I think Salvador, with his pressure, will be fresher down the stretch. Ospanov could come in here and try to wrestle and grapple, be smart. He doesn't do that in many of his fights, but you never know. He did have a grappling match against Demarques December 17th, 2021. So recently, he competed in grappling. Probably has been training a lot of it with this matchup. And he did a decent job against Ismagulov, even though he lost a decision. I'm going to pick Salvador via late second or third round KO, TKO, but I wouldn't be surprised if Arman came in here and was smart, used his grappling, and won via submission or decision. They got this fight right at a pick-em odds, so, honestly, if I bet it, even though I'm picking Salvador, maybe I'd bet Ospanov. I don't know. It's hard for me to say because I do kind of worry about Ospanov mixing it up and going for the takedowns, getting the submission, and being more experienced. And that's just why it's a total pass for me anyways, even though I do think Salvador probably will get a guy that, obliges him, keeps it on the feet, and he can get the win. Could not go down that way. But for me, I'm going to pick Salvador via late second or third round KO, TKO. So moving along here, moving into the main card, we got Raimond Magomedaliev. He's going to be taking on Anthony Njokuani. And this fight seems like bad matchmaking on paper. Anthony Njokuani is a recognizable name and definitely someone to be respected and remembered, but 41 years old, he's coming back after a 5.5-year layoff. He retired off of a 5-fight losing streak, and he is an OG, though. He debuted back in 2003. He had stints in WEC, UFC, 15 fights under the Zuffa banner. Now his brother Chidi Njokuani is in the UFC, so he has a lot to be proud of. And early in his career, he fought some of the best lightweights of all time. He lost to guys like Donald Cerrone, Benson Henderson, Edson Barbosa, Rafael dos Anjos. Also fought guys like Shane Roller, Vince Pichel, Darren Cruikshank. And he didn't have a lot of great wins to start his career, but he did take out Bart Pelzeski, he beat Andre Winter, he beat John Makdessi, he beat Roger Bowling. And he hasn't been completely inactive recently. He fought in kickboxing, he fought in lion fight, had a few kickboxing fights and won championship. And his last fight was an MMA fight, but it's not on his record because it was at Gamebred FC, the bare knuckle MMA promotion. That fight was December 17, 2021, so it was recent, won via first round knockout. His opponent was Wesley Golden, who's 10-19 and was not a good fighter, so hard to really get much out of that, but good for Njokuani to get his feet wet and get back kind of in that MMA realm. Raimond Magomedaliev, he's 10 years younger. He's a Russian fighter. He's making his United States debut, 8-1 in his career. He's on a 3-fight winning streak. And he's been competing in one championship like Njokuani, but on the MMA side. He defeated some good fighters as well. His last 3 victories came against fighters with a combined record of 33-2. His one loss came against former LFA champion, a grinder, and James Nakashima. And Raimond Magomedaliev, he's a striker. He primarily is a kicker. On the feet, he has good movement, nice kicks. He throws kicks to all parts of the body, fast kicks, good spins, good knees. His hands aren't the greatest, but he's powerful with decent timing. He'll walk guys into 1-2s, 2-3s. He has 4 knockouts in his career. Another thing about this fight is Magomedaliev has been fighting at middleweight, 185 pounds, and Njokuani is a career lightweight. That is a big gap. I did hear that Njokuani was expecting this fight at 165, and the 170-pound catchweight was due to Magomedaliev. So this is going to be the first time that Magomedaliev has made 170 pounds since 2018. He's traveling over to the United States, so I do feel like there's some things that Magomedaliev is dealing with that he hasn't normally had to deal with throughout his career and could potentially be a roadblock for him. But at 1, they do have that no weight cutting thing going on, so I don't really know how big Magomedaliev truly is, if maybe he is a regular welterweight. But he's not a great grappler or wrestler. He wants to have space so he can kick, use all his weapons, and when fighters pressure him, they can't get him down with the double or the clinch takedowns, and Magomedaliev is not great off his back either. Gets tired. You watch his fight with James Nakashima, had a pretty bad performance against someone who implemented a pressure and grappling game plan. Tyler McGuire had some success grinding Magomedaliev against the cage. Magomedaliev did hit a couple reversals against McGuire. Was able to get on top. Showed some okay wrestling defense, a little bit improved. But in this fight, it's going to probably be a kickboxing fight. We got Anthony Njokuani, who's a kickboxer, Muay Thai guy. Keeps in shape. He looked great physically a month ago, even at 41 years old in this fight. Still pretty fast. Good high guard, good feints, heavy leg kicks. He throws nice front kicks, round kicks to the body. He uses his reach effectively. Pretty good straight punches. In this fight, he needs to pressure more, uses boxing. Good elbows, good knees on the inside. At range, he's still fairly sharp and fast, but he's older. And just being a half step slower may be all Magomedaliev needs to get ahead in a range striking fight or lay at something big. And Njokuani did look to slow down pretty quickly in his fight with Golden as well. I don't think his cardio is as good as it used to be. As far as grappling goes, Njokuani does have a pretty good Muay Thai clinch, but struggled mightily against guys that tried to take him down and control him throughout his MMA career. Isn't much of an offensive wrestler. I think this is going to be a stand-up fight. And I got to go with Magomedaliev, but I think it's not as bad as a matchup as it looks on paper. Magomedaliev is going to give Anthony a kickboxing fight. I think it should be fairly competitive as long as Njokuani comes in good shape. Njokuani is tough to knock out, and he's a guy that is pretty sharp. He has good striking of his own. He's fought really good strikers. He is a 4-1 underdog, and I feel like he has some okay value, but it's hard to pick a guy coming off such a long losing streak, even though he did pick up a win in Gamebred FC, and it's hard to really trust a 41-year-old, almost 42. I feel like Raimond is going to get him tired and knock him out eventually, just on the feet, I think. But, if Anthony shows up and really shows up in good shape, shows up tuned up, he could get the win here. I really believe that, and he's a fairly sizable underdog, so Njokuani, it's a dog or pass type of matchup for me. This is one of these matchups where Magomedaliev, I'm not that impressed with him, even though he has a good record, and could be a kind of a trap kind of fight there. And moving on through the main card, we got another good fight here with Ray Borg taking on Cody Gibson. Ray Borg and Cody Gibson are, both recognizable names on the MMA scene. They both fought the UFC. They've seen the highest level of the sport. Ray Borg obviously had much more success if you're talking about UFC level. Cody Gibson only had a 4-fight stint in the UFC, went 1-3. Since leaving the UFC, though, he's got 6-1, and most recently he got the biggest win of his career against Shaun Dodson. Ray Borg probably should still be in the UFC. The guy was ranked in 2 weight classes, but he just had a lot of issues with weight cutting, things like that, and cost him his job there. He did make it all the way to a flyweight title shot against Demetrius Johnson. He lost. His last fight in the UFC was against Ricky Simon, who's a beast bantamweight, and it went to a split decision. Borg overall had a 7-5 record in the UFC. Beat guys like Nick Urso, Luis Smolka, Jussier Formiga, Rogerio Bontorin. And his losses, he lost by split decision to Ortiz, to Ricky Simon. He lost to Justin Scoggins, got submitted by Demetrius Johnson. Cody Gibson, he's fast, he's athletic. He has good wrestling, and he came back after a 3-year layoff, returned in 21, got a quick 44-second knockout in July, then he got a win over John Dodson in October, and his striking looks improved since returning. He has pretty good footwork, good job pull countering, good kicks, good pressure, 1-2s, leg kicks, front kicks up the middle. And just fight with Dodson, Dodson had that same issue like always, not pulling the trigger, so Gibson had a lot of time walking him down. His cardio looked pretty good. He was able to pressure, put the pace, but didn't really have to deal with much in return from Dodson. I don't really know how his cardio is going to hold up against a heavy wrestler like Ray Borg. Cody Gibson, mainly though, throughout his career has been a grappler wrestler. He has really good takedown game. He has pretty good control on top. He likes to take the back, and he's a big guy for the division. He's 5'10". He has a 71-inch reach. Ray Borg, he's 5'4" with a 63-inch reach. So that's a huge difference there. But one thing Cody Gibson in the UFC at least is he struggled against guys that could take him down, guys that were better grapplers than him. And with Ray Borg, that's kind of all Ray Borg's game plan is. His last fight against, in the UFC at least, against Ricky Simone, he did show off his boxing, his improved hands. And I feel like on the feet, if he pressures, uses that same type of boxing style, he will be a little bit better on the feet than Gibson is. But that reach is a big thing to deal with, man. It's going to be tough. And the grappling, I feel like Borg maybe is the better wrestler. But it's an interesting fight here. I feel like with Gibson's length and his wrestling skill, this guy was able to grapple with Aljamain Sterling, take him down, control him for periods of time, and he took down Jaw Donson, took his back. So Gibson needs a serious grappler as well. But I feel like Ray Borg is he's a higher level fighter, so I'm going to have to pick him here. I think he's going to be able to use his wrestling, use his pressure boxing game. But dog or pass situation for me here for sure. I feel like Cody Gibson's the side if you want to make a bet. He has been bet down at this point. He's at plus 115 now. You could have got him at a better number earlier in the week. But, I'm just going to pass personally. I feel like it's a fairly close fight. I am going to lean towards Borg by decision. But would not be shocked at all if Cody Gibson went in here, used his reach on the feet, some decent kicks, even got some takedowns to the zone, and was able to beat Ray Borg. So I think it's a close fight, but I'm going to go with the more established fighter in Ray Borg here. And here we go. We're coming into the main event here. Probably the most talked about fight on the card with Rashad Evans making his return to MMA. It's going to be taking on Gabriel Checco. Man, Rashad Evans, he's a former UFC champion, light heavyweight champion. He's got some of the most, all-time greatest victories of all time. That knockout over Chuck Liddell. Just all the things he's done, beating Quentin Rampage Jackson, Forrest Griffin, Michael Bisping, Chael Sonnen, Dan Henderson, Phil Davis. The guy beat a lot of really, really high-end competition, but obviously if you looked at the end of his career, he ended his career on a 5-fight losing streak. He was struggling to pull the trigger, had some really boring fights against guys like Sam Alvey, guys like Dan Kelly that you would imagine, back in his prime he would have made mincemeat of, and ended up losing close decisions. So I feel like that kind of gnawed at him probably. He wanted to go back out there and prove, hey, I've still been working, I'm still in good shape, and I don't want to end my career on 5 straight losses. I don't want to end my career looking like a joke, not being able to pull the trigger. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to join Eagle FC, and I'm going to try to do the damn thing here. And Rashad, the one thing I do think that is a little bit more promising than maybe other guys making their return is Rashad, he has a good job, man. He works for the UFC. He does TV for them. He has other gigs that he does. And I don't think he's dying for money. I don't think that's the reason why he's doing this. I think he's doing this for the love of the game. He looks in fairly good shape for his age. Obviously he's not going to look like he did 10 years ago, but looks like he's in shape. He's taking it serious. He's been training at Sanford. He stayed training there. People talk about how he's still fairly good. And on paper, this is actually a good match for Rashad Evans. He should be the better striker. He has the wrestling advantage. Gabriel Checco's a specialist. He's tough. He's willing to bang on the feet, but not a good striker. On the feet, he's pretty flat-footed. His hands aren't great. Really just consists of trying to use straight punches or overhands to close the distance, look to get in the clinch or get the takedown. And I've seen him hurt a couple guys with the left hook, but he's just sloppy, slow in the stand-up. I've seen him come forward and throw some flying knees, big overhands, looping shots. I expect him to, at least early when he's fresh, try to really let it all go and maybe get Rashad out of there. Obviously, with Rashad not fighting in 3.5 years, maybe Checco could catch him cold. Maybe Checco could get him back in that kind of gun-shy type of mentality if he could scare him a little bit early on. But Checco, what he wants to do is get it to the mat, and if he does, you're in serious trouble. He's a serious black belt. He's active on the jiu-jitsu circuit. He's a mean guy. He has bad wrestling, though. I don't really see him being able to get the takedown. I'd be absolutely shocked if he could take down Rashad Evans, man. And he's the smaller fighter here. He normally fights at 185 pounds. It's going to be a 205-pound bout. He's not been very active in MMA himself. Recently he fought January of 2020 where he got knocked out by Jordan Wright. Then he fought in October of 2021. He defeated Simon Marini via first-round finish. That was a fighter coming off a 9-year layoff and didn't look good at all. Checco, he also has questionable cardio. He does slow down in fights. And Rashad, man, I mean, for being like such a low level like his last recent years, I still think he should win this fight, man. I mean, it's hard for me to say it, and but man, I mean, you see him on social media. It still looks like he has decent hand speed. He's hitting the bag, hitting pads. I feel like he has way better boxing than Checco. You know, his chin's always been fairly decent. I mean, he rolls with punches well. He did get knocked out a couple times towards the tail end of his career, but man, I mean, it came against Glover Teixeira, who's the current champ in the UFC. It came against Anthony Smith, who's a top 5 guy in that division. And then he has, obviously, that kind of classic knockout to Lyoto Machida. But, man, I mean, I would be surprised if Gabriel Checco knocked him out. Checco doesn't have the wrestling to get it to the ground, in my opinion. He doesn't have the foot speed or the hand speed to compete with Rashad on the feet. And I think Rashad's going to go out here and get the knockout, man. I'm going to go with Rashad Evans, second round knockout. Hopefully Sugar comes out and gets what he wants, man. He beats up on a dude, gets it out of his system, and retires maybe, or gets another kind of fight like this. Because I don't want to see Rashad take damage or fight a good fighter. I mean, I feel like this is a good matchup here, man. He can go out there, get the win, you know, maybe get the monkey off his back, itch that scratch a little bit, and maybe, you know, he won't want to come back anymore. But yeah, I think Rashad Evans, man, he's going to come out here and get the knockout. And then finally, we got the main event here. We got Tyrone Spong taking on Sergei Kharitonov. And I'm happy they switched up this fight. It was originally supposed to be Tyrone Spong taking on Antonio Bigfoot Silva, who, man, I mean, Bigfoot Silva doesn't need to be getting in there with Tyrone Spong, man. Tyrone Spong, this guy's a bad motherfucker, man. I mean, if you don't like Tyrone Spong, man, you could just fuck off right now. I mean, no, I'm just joking, but fuck, man. I mean, this guy, bro, the king of the ring. Man, I mean, this guy is one of the best strikers of all time, ever. Any striker in the world you could think of, because this guy has done it all, man. I mean, he's kind of the original person that decided, hey, I'm going to try all these combat sports. He did MMA back in the day. I think it was like 8 years ago at this point. He's going to be making his return. Yeah, 8 years, 5 months ago, he started doing MMA, even longer. I mean, that was 9 years ago. And he was already a high-end kickboxer, world class. I mean, this guy has beaten some elite-level kickboxers, only lost to the greatest kickboxers of all time. I think he has a record of like 118-7 in kickboxing. And then he's been able to also go over to boxing, go 14-0 in boxing. He won the WBO Latino Heavyweight Championship. He was even linked to a fight with Alexander Usyk at one point. So he did fairly well in boxing as well. And so this guy, man, just in terms of striking, I think he's one of the best strikers that has ever walked the earth. I think in terms of his kickboxing, his leg kicks, his boxing, elite level. I mean, Sergei Kharitonov, he's another guy that is a legend in his own right. Great MMA fighter. Fought some of the best of all time. He's had good fights, bad fights. He's 41 years old at this point, so he's getting up there in age. But he's still done well. He's been competing against guys in Bellator. He's been able to pick up some wins there. He's even been able to pick up some good wins in Russia as well. And Kharitonov, I mean, if he was smart, he would probably try to get the fight to the ground, get the takedown, get the submission victory. But throughout his whole career, he's been primarily a boxer. He has some pro boxing fights. Now that he's older, I mean, I don't really see him coming in here and looking to get the takedown or looking to work a submission game on Tyrone Spong. He does have 8 submissions in his 33 wins, but he has been submitted quite a few times, isn't a wrestler, isn't a guy that goes for takedowns. His cardio is questionable these days, so I don't really see him being really active with the wrestling. If you look at Sergei's record, since 2010, he only has 2 submission victories. That's over 12 years, so, I mean, I got to go with Tyrone Spong here by knockout. First round knockout. I think this guy's a beast, man. He's one of the best strikers. Sergei Kharitonov, he's a really good striker as well. He's hard to finish. And he's going to be significantly bigger in this fight. He is a natural heavyweight. Tyrone Spong's a little bit smaller. But, yeah, I just think the technique is too much to overcome. I mean, we did see, I think today that he weighed in like 40 or 36 pounds heavier than Tyrone Spong, so that is a significant advantage. And hey, I mean, if he goes in there and uses his wrestling, submits Spong, good on Sergei, he's going to get the win. But I think Spong's going to go out there. I think it's going to be a kickboxing, boxing type of fight. and I think Spong's going to kick Sergei's legs off and then knock him out. So I got to go with Tyrone Spong in this one. This was a fun breakdown, guys. Eagles FC 44. I enjoyed looking through this card. Hopefully you got something from this video and enjoy watching this video. So really appreciate all you guys' support on the channel. If you want to get my full bets on this video or on this card, I do have a few bets on this card already, and I have some bets on Bellator as well. So for $10 you can get access to 10 free bets currently that I have on the board, and I'm probably going to add a few more, and you'll get access to my full card betting breakdown video for Bellator. So really appreciate all the guys over there on Patreon already. Really appreciate everyone that just supports on YouTube as well. Make sure to hit the like button, drop a comment down below, tell me what you thought of this breakdown video. Do you want me to continue to be doing Eagles FC 44 or Eagles FC breakdown videos? Let's get some support on this video if you want to have me continue to do these videos. Let's get at least, let's try to get 100 likes on this video. Let's try to get 500 plus views, at least 20 comments. That would be awesome. So really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you guys later.